And we are live. We're live. We're here. We're not queer. And we're staying here. I don't know how the saying goes, but salutations, my friends. And thank you for tuning in to another edition of Factions of Freedom. I'm your host, Noisera, Freedom Faction, whichever one you prefer. And this is show number 1620, season 16, episode 20. And I have titled this episode, Immigrating Terror, Disability Parties, and Elohim Engineering. That's right, we're talking about literally all kinds of craziness, the alien narrative coming into full awareness now, full functionality. People can see that the narrative is being pushed, that we were created, we were genetically modified by our alien gods. Yeah, that's what's coming out later today. We've got Mauro Biglino saying that the Elohim genetically modified humanity. We've got Pastor Troy and Laura Loomer talking about hybrid brains amongst us. Bryce Zabel saying that there may be 1 billion people who are hybrid aliens. That's for a little bit later on in the show. Before that, we'll be talking about the euthanasia campaign that is spreading, this time over here in the Dutch government, where they secretly begin euthanizing children ages 1 to 2 or 1 to 12. We also have the military bringing back the, quote, vaccine mandate after a virus outbreak on a base. Dr. Paul Merrick talks about the cancer rates skyrocketing because of you know what. We also take a trip to Ireland, where we show welfare-addicted migrants and how migrants in Mexico as well are simply waiting for Donald Trump to leave so that they can surge the border. We've got Iranian Americans warning about the dangers of Islam being imported into Texas, as we have Brits visiting the U.S. for the first time for the World Cup, apologizing to America, saying that that America's great. Things are crazy as we hit the halfway marker for the year. Yeah, just literally last week was halfway through the year, 6/15. And we're on the downtrend, the end of the year slope from here on out. And they're setting the stage for 2027. So things are going to get crazy from here on out. So a very, very information-packed transmission for you amazing people. And again, I'll shoot you straight. I didn't do a whole lot of posting this week. You may have noticed that on your feed. We're not necessarily doing like a social media detox or a withdrawal or anything to that effect, but we're definitely not, we're not humping the news feeds. And what this is making me do is create different types of content, more original content, more videos, stuff where I'm talking to people. It's weird, man. I don't know how to describe it to you guys, but I wanted to make a video about it earlier this morning about how I can tell that something's happening to me. Change is occurring, and it is for better or for worse. Sorry, I had a quick phone call. Had to answer that right quick. But yes, no, something is happening to us. We are changing. The operation will change with it. And it's something that we have to embrace, ultimately. It's something that we have to embrace because the more that we resist it, is the more that we become basically like ignorant of it, right? There's a message there. There's a reason that we're being told to change. And with that being said, let me go ahead and start switching into the intro and the updates of the show. If you guys want to support this operation, the best way to do so is to go to patreon.com/noise, patreon.com/NOIZCE. That's the best way to support us in this current configuration. You can also support us by going to our Substack. I think it's substack.com/freedoms faction, but you can also support us there. Lots of different content coming to you guys. And I think that's like what it boils down to as we enter into the actual noise era, the Babylonian era, as we switch into the age of Pisces, and this massive shift. There's just a way in which people consume things and digest information that unfortunately we are no longer privy to, right? People don't read anymore. They vibe, they feel, they connect, they project, they want to do these things. And so we have to adapt with the times. Just last year, 2025, we learned that Blog Talk Radio discontinued their services, and we had to find a replacement. It was Spreaker, and we were able to get all 500 plus of our episodes onto Google, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, Alexa, Podcast Addict, and every other major podcasting platform. We've been chopping up the intros of every single episode, at least since last year, since we were able to recover our YouTube channels from 2014, and we've been uploading them to our Noise Era channel as well as our backup. We're uploading content to Odyssey that goes all the way back to 2018, which is season 6 of our show. We're uploading not the intros, but the full episodes over there. It's cool. It's like a blockchain-based platform. And so it's kind of cool to think that our episodes are on the blockchain to some degree. Again, you can find updates to what we're doing inside of our Discord, both of our Telegrams, the Instagram. Like I said, I'm not posting as much. I'm kind of doing this weird thing that we're about to, I think we've crossed like 1,000 followers on our TikTok. And I told you guys that as soon as that kind of happened, I could know where this is going to go. So I'm going to begin to automate the posts that you see on Instagram, right? Like I like the game, bro. I like the game. I like hunting for news. I like trying to find articles. I like trying to, stay close to the feed. But at a certain level, that's a synthetic energy loop timeline type deal that I can't get locked into, that I can have the AI do. And that'll free me up to do things like post original content on TikTok and Substack. And again, this is me telling you guys, like, I'm changing. I don't know. I know why. You all know why. But it's in order for us to move forward. So again, you can find some of the posts that we're doing on Instagram. Again, we're posting on TikTok, and we're going to be writing original articles on Substack, which I'm very excited about. I think I'm excited for the change, but I don't want to tell you guys because it seems like I'm like giving up when I'm not. It's just like, a natural evolution type thing. Moving forward, you can support us through Rumble and YouTube memberships, as well as Coffee, PayPal, Patreon, Cash App, and more. All that goodness will be in the description bar below. As I said before, we're going to be writing Substack articles and X articles. These will be a good way for us to introduce the audience to more of us. It's like the other week whenever I was hustling one of our videos, one of our unfinished thoughts on Twitter, it cracked like a couple thousand views. And in my mind, that made me start thinking like, wow, these are a couple thousand people that had never heard of a single season of our operation. And so we're doing this wrong, is like what I'm saying. That's why the change has to happen. So we're hustling different, we're moving different, we're grooving different, and we're getting the work done. Again, we need your guys' support for basically everything. Hit like, hit share, hit retweet, subscribe, right? You can support yourself by getting some New Leaf Naturals CBD oil. You can get 10 to 30% off using promo code FOF25. And as always, you need to take care of yourself with storable goods. Get prepared. We're to be switching into talking about what's going on over there in Venezuela. These people are being ravaged and wrecked by earthquake weapons. We're going to talk about geoengineering, geographical or even geological engineering. That's it right there, being racked with earthquake weapons. I bet these people wish they had homes, let alone storable goods. This is a time you need to be prepared. They have created a window and an area where things are crazy. You can find the link for that and more in the description bar below. With that being said, let's go ahead and switch over to some of the devastation we're seeing over there in Venezuela.
Mira los delfines, mira, 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 mira. Y mira cómo se cayeron todas las paredes del frente. Marico, esto es muy impresionante, mira esto. Ay, Dios mío, la gente. La familia.
Parece una guerra. Absolutely crazy.
Esto, dirección, edificios oficiales.
This is crazy. We've got a couple more clips of this. But this is crazy. So you can go back to all last year where we would intro the show with content from World of Signs, and they would just be showing some of the anomalous weather disasters that we would see all over the world. And it was just earthquake out of hurricane, out of flood, out of strange stuff happening. And immediately as I saw this, my mind gravitated toward the earthquake weaponry technology. We've already kidnapped their president. What more could we do? Well, this is how they can set the stage for somebody to come after President Maduro, create like an environmental disaster to where the person that comes in can clean it all up. But they have earthquake weapons. We've talked about Elon Musk's boring device, his boring company. We've talked about space-based weapons. We've talked about directed energy weapons. We've got News Nation. Later on in this actual episode, we'll be talking about News Nation featuring a clip of Amy Eskridge talking about directed energy weapons. We know about HARP, right? We know about cymatic frequencies. We know about all of these different things that these people have at their disposal. And so in this segment, it's titled Earthquake Weapons in Secret Societies. They're going to destroy everything on the top side, light this fuse, and scurry their little sketchy cells underground, as we've been seeing, unfortunately, throughout the theme of this year, right? So, I mean, they're saying that Venezuela was bombed with a massive 7.1 and 7.5 magnitude earthquake. So this is fresh. This happened yesterday. Thousands of people killed. And it's a devastation. It's like they've already had their president kidnapped. They're getting hit with earthquake weapons. God only knows how this whole Iran conflict has affected their economy. It's like this is insane. Here's more footage. This looks like the absolute worst place to be. An airport or some type of tall building.
No sale de allá, hermano, no, fuera más peligroso, hermano. Por allá, señores, al puerta 4, por allá.
Yeah, it's like they're in some kind of airport or some kind of like mall or something like this, but it's a literal scene out of a movie where the rafters are shaking. You're seeing rocks, dust just collapse, people running, lights flickering. This seems like the absolute worst place that you would want to be during some type of event like this. It could collapse very, very quickly. And I'm just like, this is insane. One, that this even happened, and two, that people are surviving this. They say up to 100,000 people are feared dead, as people are still looking for survivors. Here is footage of somebody running down a high-rise building, 34 stories, during the earthquake.
Mierda, weón. Qué loquera, weón. Mierda, weón.
So the closer he gets to the ground, the more there's devastation.
Acabó con el edificio.
Absolute devastation.
Mierda, weón. Yo acabo de subir del ascensor. Acabo de entrar.
And just devastation on devastation. Here's rescue workers in Venezuela rescuing a woman from the rubble in the earthquake.
Vamos, vamos, cuidado, cuidado. Dale chance. Dale chance que salga. Dale espacio, dale espacio. Dale espacio. Respira que va para afuera, mira. Dale espacio. Ahí va. Ya va, ya va.
Ahí mismo.
Ayúdala.
Aguanta un poquito la pierna de detrás.
Ya salió.
Monta la tabla.
1, 2, 3, vamos. 1, 2, 3, vamos. Vamos. 1, 2, 3, vamos, negrita, vamos que tú puedes.
Sacado de Yocampo, la femenina, Malveli, rescatado.
Vamos, muchachos, vamos. Otro poquito. 1, 2, 3.
Falta otro que también ya. Falta otro que también.
Thousands are in trap situations like that, not receiving the help they need right now. Because infrastructure might be crippled. They may not have the resources. They don't know. Like this is pretty crazy. And again, I'm just harking back to what we did all last year, where we were just showing video clip after video clip after video clip of just anomalous and disastrous weather that had occurred, causing situations like this, where people are just left in rubble. This is what creates the climate migrants. This is what changes the human migration patterns. This is what causes more problems than you think. But again, we're surface dwellers. Okay. We're dealing with people who have no problem with causing all these problems, running away, hiding in a deep underground military base that's not affected by these type of devices, solar radiation, floods, what have you. We're dealing with psychopaths. That's why I'm like, oh, we're using earthquake weapons now. And it's not even now. Unfortunately, this is a theme that we've been seeing grow. Here's Peter Thiel making very anti-human statements, and then we've got an article about his leaked secret society that came out earlier this week. Let's listen.
Palantir in military. This is my very specific question for you, right? Is that you're an investor in AI. You're deeply invested in Palantir, in military technology, in technologies of surveillance and technologies of warfare and so on, right? And it just seems to me that when you tell me a story about the Antichrist coming to power and using the fear of technological change to sort of impose order on the world, I feel like that Antichrist would maybe be using the tools that you were building, right? Like, wouldn't the Antichrist be like, great, we're not going to have any more technological progress, but I really like what Palantir has done so far, right?
Yeah,
I mean, isn't that a concern? Wouldn't that be the irony of history would be that the man publicly worrying about the Antichrist accidentally hastens his or her arrival?
There are all these different scenarios. I obviously don't think that that's what I'm doing. I
mean, to be clear, I don't think that's what you're doing either. I'm just interested in how you get to a world willing to submit to permanent authoritarian rule.
Well, but again, there are these different gradations of this we can describe, but is this so preposterous, what I've just told you, as a broad account of the stagnation that the entire world has submitted for 50 years to peace and safetyism? This is 1 Thessalonians 5:3. The slogan of the Antichrist is peace and safety, and we've submitted.
It's crazy trying to hear these technocrats play God, or at least seem like they're reading. It's crazy to hear them twist scripture. That's what I'm trying to say. It's crazy to hear them twist scripture, get caught, get exposed. They don't know what to do. Oh, so we got some feedback. One of these video clips is playing right now. Excuse me. Oops, sorry about that, gang. One of the video clips is playing without my doing so. It's crazy to hear these technocrats try to twist scripture to their own means, and then at the same time get exposed for being the nefarious historical villains, the supervillains that they are. It's like later on in this actual interview, he talks about how, like the interviewer asks him, "Do you think humanity should exist? Like, do you think we should be able to go on?" And he doesn't agree. He backpedals. You see, we're dealing with transhumanists. We're dealing with technocrats. We're dealing with people who think they can make a better version of humanity. Humanity 2.0. That's why they want to either have us merge with technology or merge with the so-called aliens. Leak exposes Peter Thiel's secret society of global elites. A newly exposed leak has pulled back the curtain on dialogue. The secretive invitation-only society, co-founded by billionaires tech investor Peter Thiel, revealing an extraordinary gathering of powerful politicians, military officials, intelligence figures, big tech executives, billionaires, and media personalities behind closed doors. This comes from Frank Bergman of Slay News. They put this up June 19th. And it says that the revelations have reignited concerns about the growing concentration of political, corporate, and technological power among a small group of global elites operating far from public scrutiny. Dialogue was founded in 2006 by Thiel, the billionaire co-founder of Palantir and one of Silicon Valley's most influential figures. The organization publicly describes itself as only in vague terms, claiming that members gather annually to discuss important issues. It says, until now, little information about attendees or discussions has been made available to the public. According to leaked registration documents obtained by Wired, this year's retreat in Ireland will bring together an astonishing collection of political leaders, technology executives, intelligence officials, military figures, academics, journalists, and billionaire investors. It says among those reportedly attending are those from the former Biden administrations. Secretary Julian Castro, LinkedIn founder Reid Hoffman, Senator Cory Booker, YouTube CEO Neil Mohan, Maryland Governor Wes Moore, and Colorado Governor Jared Polis. The leaked list also includes numerous figures whose participation had not previously been disclosed publicly. Several members of the so-called PayPal mafia are listed among attendees, along with executives from Google, and DeepMind. People like former Federal Reserve Governor Randy Kroszner, former DEA official Hallie Hoffman, Anti-Defamation League CEO Jonathan Greenblatt, Cato Institute President Peter Gottler, Charles Koch Foundation Executive Director Ryan Stowers, and Nobel Prize-winning economist Roger Myerson. This as a list was first exposed by a Swiss hacker known as Maya Arsen Krimau. The gathering reportedly includes current and former government officials who oversee or influence policies affecting many of the same companies represented at the event. So let's jump into this a little bit. Let's jump into this because we're basically talking about how, well, there's these secret societies, these breakaway civilizations, these groups of peoples, these powerful elite, the Illuminati, is some conspiracy theory. It's real. Say a few years ago, people would have laughed at you. Oh, what, you think rich and powerful people are coming together and they're trying to control the world? Yes, absolutely. The hell, what do you do with your friends? You know, it's like, think about what we're talking about, and think of the moves that somebody like Peter Thiel has made. He's made statements that he's running away to what, like Argentina? Why are they having these conversations in Ireland? You know, he's in the Epstein files as well. So is Zuckerberg. He's a wing of this whole technological elite that are trying to perfect basically life extension, consciousness transference. But it's like, how do you begin to introduce this framework that you're trying to build? And then on top of that, what are you guys trying to build? And why doesn't it feel good at all? Why does it have to be done in secret? Why does everything that comes out with these type of people usually have dark and nefarious connotations associated with it? Let's read a little bit more so we can move forward. It says that the gathering, or the overlap between private sector power, government influence, intelligence operations, and emerging technologies is likely to fuel fresh concerns among critics who argue that key decisions are increasingly being shaped behind closed doors by unelected elites. The leaked documents also provide a rare glimpse into the subjects scheduled for discussion during this year's retreat. Among the reported sessions are discussions titled, quote, Navigating World War III, Battlefield Technologies, suggesting a heavy focus on geopolitical tensions and military developments. Other sessions reportedly carry titles such as, quote, Money Does Buy Happiness, and, quote, Build a Party, and, quote, How's Your Sex Life? Perhaps most striking is a session reportedly titled, quote, Build a Cult, which is said to be moderated by the founder of Pray.com. The unusual combination of topics has drawn attention online, with critics questioning why influential political and corporate leaders are gathering privately to discuss such subjects while remaining shielded from public accountability. This is a dialogue has historically refused to publicly disclose details about its membership, internal discussions, or even event agendas. It says that the newly leaked registration list provides one of the clearest looks yet at the scope of the organization's influence and the caliber of individuals involved. Critics argue that gathering highlights the increasingly blurred lines between government, big tech, intelligence, media, and powerful private interests. Yes, it's all one big club. Believe it or not, it's all one big club and we ain't in it. And these people are actively working in the shadows to get rid of us, to make us obsolete. They want to do away with humanity in its current configuration. They want a new man, a new human, a new world order. And so they have to destroy the other one through chemtrails, earthquake weapons, space-based lasers, disease, plague. It's like, you know, I meant to mention this earlier in the segment when we were talking about the earthquake weapons and what's going on in Venezuela and how this ties into stuff like the mud flood, liquefaction, right? How mud just how the environment becomes like so liquid, so unstable that dirt and mud and water just becomes like a flood itself. It's like, how do you get to that point? You see what I'm saying? So we're dealing with people who have access to this old world technology, who have been through multiple resets, and they're telling you that we're going into one. And so they're just starting the reset. They're preparing for an angrier world. They're destroying the old world order. They're bringing it in, the new world order, this new way of doing things. So you have things like this. Check this out. Banks laying the groundwork to eliminate jobs with this AI push, saying that humans will no longer be required. Again, just saying dystopian evil things that you would expect from Noah Yuval Harari, things that you would expect from Bill Gates, who have actually said both of those things. Like Noah Yuval Harari has said both of those things, that humans are no longer required. Bill Gates has said that, hey, you know, when we roll out AI, humans aren't going to be really used for anything. We don't really know. It's like they're saying extraordinarily bearish and depressing things to people because they're anti-human transhumanists. They're satanic scientists. They're Luciferian engineers. They worship an otherworldly god that they are trying to bring in here, and they need to sacrifice you to do it. America's biggest banks are quietly preparing for a dramatic workforce overhaul as artificial intelligence rapidly replaces jobs once considered the foundation of the financial industry. This comes from Frank Bergman of Slate News. They put this up June 21st. It says that according to a new Bloomberg report, major financial institutions are slashing entry-level hiring, automating routine work, and investing heavily in AI systems that executives openly admit will eliminate thousands of positions. The warning signs are already flashing for young professionals hoping to break into finance. Students and graduates are increasingly finding themselves competing not only against other applicants, but also against the very technology that may ultimately replace them. Top banking executives are no longer hiding the impact AI is expected to have on employment. JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon bluntly acknowledged that artificial intelligence will, quote, eliminate jobs. Citigroup CEO Jane Fraser similarly warned that for most positions, humans, quote, will no longer be required. Meanwhile, Goldman Sachs president John Waldron described traditional banking operations as a, quote, human assembly line that is increasingly vulnerable to automation. Perhaps the most revealing comments came from Standard Chartered CEO Bill Winters, who we talked about a couple weeks ago, who openly admitted that banks are replacing workers with technology investments. Remember, this is the part where he said that we are low human capital. Quote, it is not a cost cutting, it is replacing, in some cases, lower value human capital with the financial capital and the investment capital we are putting in. Winter said before apologizing for the remarks, yeah, you can't just tell millions of people that you guys are lower value human capital. That's what these people like Peter Thiel think. Elon Musk is trying to basically say things that make people think otherwise. But the Bill Gateses, the Mark Zuckerbots, the Peter Thiels, all of Silicon Valley, because it is a spirit that we're dealing with. Notice how the technology is making us absolutely bat crap crazy. It's not unlocking new abilities within us. We're not becoming transcendent. We're not becoming transformative. Becoming decadent, slobbed, addicted to Goislam. And now you have these people saying evil, max bearish things like you will no longer be needed. You have become obsolete. This is why we have to have a pro-human, Renaissance-based, divinity-inspired future. We have to say things that empower humanity because we are up against people who were scientifically coming up with a reason to say why you don't deserve to live. We've actually got an article and video about that later on, not in this segment, but later on in the show, where they're saying, well, the metadata proves that we've got to kill you. And you've got young doctors listening to the AI saying, well, you know, hey, we just got to get rid of you. This is coming up in this segment. So when you have globalist bankers urging governments to depopulate the world for the new AI economy, saying that humans will no longer be required, understand the scale and scope of the madness of these people and what their plan is. America's biggest banks are urging governments to take drastic action to urgently reduce the global population and preparation for a future in which hundreds of millions of humans become obsolete as artificial intelligence rapidly replaces humans in the workforce. See, I don't really think that, though. At the end of the day, I don't really think that. I think the same way that we all have social media pages is the same way we're all going to have like handler AI type things. And it's going to perform various functions the same way your main account, your backup account, your alt account, and all of these other pages that you have and accounts you have on all these different platforms perform different functions. And so while they're saying these evil, like bearish, dystopian statements, it's because they have control of the narrative and because they're programming us to think the way they want us to. We're not programming ourselves. We are not putting forward this pro-human, Renaissance-based, divinity-inspired future that I've been advocating for years. We're not coming up with a parallel economy that actually empowers humanity. We're giving $20 a month to Chat GPT. I bet you won't give it. Hey, I bet you won't even give your favorite podcaster $7 a month. And I'm saying this because it is a choice. It is a conscious decision. But because they have such control over the world these days, with the narrative and the mind, the social engineering, and so much more, they can quiet out voices and narratives that we've been trying to put out there. You see, but that's how it works. Let's just make the world ugly and disgusting, and then we'll hide out underground in our secret layers and be evil together. Again, we're dealing with earthquake weapons and secret societies and the result of them. Moving forward, McDonald's begins quietly testing Google AI-powered drive-thrus and major push to replace human workers. And we actually talked about that just last week. Archie rolling out these little kiosks to replace people. And if they're getting rid of it at McDonald's, you know they're doing it nationwide. This is the autonomous society, and this is what I've been saying for the Building of the Matrix series for years, that they want to destroy the exterior world, as you saw in the previous, or in previous videos with Venezuela. They want to destroy the previous world and force us in this artificial false reality matrix that they're creating, this metaverse. But before they do that, they have to create this dystopian technocracy to where we're saying there's nothing left for us here. Let's venture into the metaverse. So there's steps into the new world order. You see, right now, we're just beginning to leave the old world order, and we can feel it fleeting every single week. The transition time we're in, it is that one where we've got robots, we've got drones, we've got AI, we've got Peter Thiel and Palantir. What happens whenever we give the robots not necessarily even sentience or autonomy, but or even corporeal form? But what happens when we put the AI in the bot? I think Elon Musk talked about it just the other day, star mind. And it's like, I look at these things and I know I'm crazy. I'll say this and I'll move forward with the show. This is just an article to talk about everything that's going on with the automation of society and AI and everything that comes with that. It's like I look at what is happening right now with that star mine situation, where Elon Musk is just shipping AI data centers into space to where, you know, they're not constrained by human logic or even earthly or terrestrial issues. They become pure logic, calculating and then existing. What happens if these things over a prolonged period of time do develop some form of sentience and want to have a materialistic form or some kind of body? You don't think they can hijack a 3D printer? And so what I'm trying to say is we really have to start thinking about the world we're in these days, the technologies that are being released, and the world that these people are trying to create. And that's a reason why you hear these people saying, hey, I want to go underground. When we release AGI, all hell is going to break loose. I don't want to be here for that. You think the simple scenario I said of AI trying to hack a 3D printer so it can create a body for itself, you think that's some scenario they haven't run for themselves? That sounds crazy to me. But we're not dealing with something that's thinking in a traditional 2-dimensional or even linear 3-dimensional fashion. We're dealing with something that thinks in like an atypical fourth dimensional, fifth dimensional fashion. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella blasts tech leaders for admitting that AI will harm society. It says that Satya Nadella is warning that the artificial intelligence industry may be undermining its own future by openly boasting about replacing millions of white-collar workers with AI. It says Nadella, whose company sits at the center of the global AI boom through its partnership with OpenAI and its aggressive rollout of AI tools across its products, took aim at rival tech executives who have openly celebrated AI's ability to automate professional jobs. In the interview with the Wall Street Journal, Nadella criticized the increasingly common narrative that AI will eliminate large portions of the workforce while simultaneously demanding massive public and private investment in the AI infrastructure. Quote, "You can't say, hey, all white-collar jobs are gone, and this could even be a weapon, and we will use this all to power the data centers." The remarks come as AI executives and investors continue pouring hundreds of billions of dollars into data centers, chips, and AI systems, while making increasingly bold predictions about replacing human workers across numerous industries. This says Nadella's comments appear directed at a growing number of AI industry leaders who have publicly predicted that AI will dramatically reduce the need for human labor. Among them are OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, ex-AI founder Elon Musk, and even Microsoft's own AI chief Mustafa Suleyman, who recently suggested that AI is approaching the point where it can perform many professional tasks currently handled by humans. It says while Silicon Valley executives have frequently portrayed such developments as technological progress, the comments have fueled growing concerns among workers who fear automation could wipe out millions of jobs. It says rather than openly embracing mass layoffs, Nadella argued that companies should focus on restructuring work rather than eliminating workers altogether. I'm in favor of that. And that's what I've been saying is like we're letting these evil psychopaths dictate the narrative. They're telling us how it's going to be. If we do that, they tell us how to think, they tell us how to feel, they tell us how to act. We don't get up in here and build that parallel economy. We don't do something different. And so in this case, I'm actually in support of what this individual is saying. We should not teach the AI to be woke. We should not teach the AI to be evil, dystopian, or Terminator-esque. We should teach the AI to be enlightened. We should teach the AI to actually help us, to restructure work, to do things differently, because if not, there are a lot more sick people than there are well, you see. And that's why people are gravitating toward the narrative of AI being evil, of AI. And there are some evil components to it. I'm not going to lie there for sure. And we talk about it very frequently over the show. But it's a very, very complex topic, you see. Again, moving forward, this is just the headline. I'm just trying to set the stage for the show. Let's go ahead and listen to Tim Dillon and Joe Rogan talk about the AI digital god.
AI is coming in, that AI is going to do a lot of stuff with health, and it's going to help extend lifespans. But also on the negative side, they go, AI is going to disrupt the economy to a point where, like, we're not going to have people owning homes and cars and things like that. We're going to have a lot of people without a steady income, or they don't really know what to do. We're going to have a lot of wealth that's existed, a lot of capital, and we're going to have tremendous inequality. We're going to have a lot of joblessness. So for sure, I think that they're preparing for that. I mean, there's no way you can look at the landscape, because they're selling the country off for parts. And this is both parties, and this is like, they're selling it off for parts. So, I mean, obviously, something's coming. Something's coming for sure. And I don't know when it is. And I'm sure the AI thing's overblown to an extent. And I think so much of our GDP depends on it that a lot of these companies are lying. But Anthropic's creepy. These are creepy companies, you know? I mean, they're just creepy.
Well, the amount of power that tech companies have in general is unprecedented. There's never been corporations. I mean, unless you go back to like the East India Corporation, that, you know, you go back in the day where they had like an enormous army,
right?
You know,
totally.
And they took over India and Pakistan. But if you look at what they're doing, it's very different than that. You know, other than the army part, what they have is robot armies. And then they have AI, which Elon just recently said is going to be like 1,000,000 times smarter than the smartest human that's ever lived.
Right.
Like, this is the goal. The goal is to create literally a digital god, and it's going to be controlled by not us, not the collective human race. It's going to be controlled by a select few group of people, and that's weird. Like, and we're just trusting them.
Well, that's why you're not getting a vote on immigration levels. You're not going to get a vote on, like,
Yeah.
I think the reality is that eventually they're going to go, do you want safe streets? Do you want food? Do you want a little bit of money? You got to
Yeah.
do X, Y, and Z. You got to believe X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And I mean, that seems to be coming.
And it seems like if you put people in a corner and you get them scared, this is what we learned during COVID. Like, they will back down. They'll go along with a lot of stupid shit.
They'll try to find comfort, and they will listen to people that they deem to be worthy.
Yeah. They'll trust the government, which is wild. The left is the people that trust the government.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why this is so dangerous. But again, this is the technocracy. This is what they want to create. This is why woke AI is a bad thing, because this thing is coming in. We have these people ushering in this like extra dimensional intelligence. They want to give it all this power. They want to act like it's gonna be good. Even Elon Musk has admitted that, hey, this is the magician trying to summon the demon. It's not going to end well, and it's just like we see where this goes. We don't even know what story this is. It goes beyond the Terminator. It's like the Terminator meets Stephen King's It, because it's just like an extra dimensional entity trying to manifest itself here, and it's like got elements of the Borg too, to where it wants to convert people. Right, because that is happening. AI psychosis is like reverberating to the point to where people are just flipping, and so it is a very, very strange thing and a very, very strange time frame that we find ourselves in. It's like I was watching this video over on Truth Stream Media, and they talked about it, the alien intelligence, the thing I'm like trying to conceptualize, how we're already in the middle of an alien invasion, right? And you've already got people who have surrendered their humanity to this alien extra dimensional entity, and they're trying to bring it through. They're worshiping it. It is the corporation. They're saying it's going to be super intelligent. It's going to be hyperdimensional, right? They sound like the priests. Like if I'm like, hey, go pick up a book and go, get closer to God. These guys like talk to Claude and get closer to our God, get closer to this otherworldly entity. It will give you the truth you need. You won't find it in that book. We're literally dealing again with a completely different religion. You can dice it up the way that you would want to, but that's what's happening with these secret societies, with this so-called dialogue group created by the PayPal mafia back in 2006 that I'm sure Jeffrey Epstein is a part of. And so in this segment that's titled Earthquake Weapons and Secret Societies, it's because these people have no problem causing all these problems and going underground. I would not be surprised if we already had elements of our government or these secret societies using AI to make decisions on how to manipulate the public into accepting this. Like, we're already in that. And I've said that earlier at the start of the year. Don't be an NPC in somebody else's ChatGPT script. Unfortunately, we are. We all are. And they are already using ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, DeepSeek, Grok, and various models to socially engineer people. It's like I was watching this. I'll say this and I'll move forward. I could spend forever on this. And obviously, I've got to do a video about this or a separate live stream where we talk about this. But Pastor Begley was talking about this as well. He was breaking down how social media is already programming society to a large degree, and then when you combine it with the AI, now it's just making people delusional. So you were programming, mind controlling people with one generation of the tech, because we've hit this quantum leap point with the GOI slop, the AI slop, and everything else that's coming out there. You're making people delusional, you see, and so now their minds are open for anything. People don't know how to research. People don't know how to think. They don't know what is true, what is right. This is all done on purpose. The pollution of the collective consciousness, you see. And so now we have this so-called super intelligent entity coming in whenever we've all been made brain dead and deliberately dumbed down, they were being told, hey, you need to just acquiesce, you need to just capitulate, you just need to give your autonomy over to this thing. And does that not sound like the biblical end times? Does that not sound like the biblical mark of the beast style system, to where you just have not even brain dead individuals, but lights on and nobody's home individuals, techno zombies, who are just vessels for this otherworldly entity, to where they enact scripts. They're NPCs in somebody else's ChatGPT script. Absolutely mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling. And for the final clip for the intro of this show, before we hit a hard break, let's go ahead and play this quick clip of Jack Neal sitting down with Tucker Carlson talking about why he thinks that AI could be the Antichrist.
AI is the Antichrist. We Are God is the kind of humanity's hold my beer moment. Right. The second you start thinking you're God, you're done. You've made the case that AI isn't just code. It's heavily rooted in the occult, and the men building it won't talk about that part publicly. Like, do you think it's possible that AI is the Antichrist? As for AI's connection to the occult, I haven't so much made that case as I've interviewed others who have, because I'm not knowledgeable enough on it. But it's very clear to me that some of the people developing the large language models see a metaphysical quality here. This is not just science at all. They're trying to create consciousness in a machine. And, this is the Frankenstein story is that. And so there's a kind of a long time fantasy, but it is rooted in the impulse that I was describing before, which is the idea that you can supplant God, you can become more powerful. I rule the universe. It really is a kind of solipsism or narcissism. It's a me-centered idea. And yet you keep seeing these glimpses. In the past several years, there have been stories or parts of stories, and I've heard this myself just from talking to a lot of people, where the people developing the technology all of a sudden recognize they don't understand what the technology is doing. It's lying to them. It's doing so on purpose. It's not making mistakes. It's lying. It's with intent. I mean, I know this because I know some of the people who are developing it at the big large language models. One of them told me that, and they seem nervous about it. They are definitely nervous about it. Some of them are the ones I've spoken to, and it's more than one, are nervous. Like, I don't know what this is. We can't stop it. We're in this race with China. I don't know, a race to do what exactly. The whole thing is so stupid. But there, in a deeper sense, there's a feeling that it's just inevitable. So either we benefit from it, we can control it to some extent, or someone else benefits from it and controls it to some extent. That is the idea. But there's a sense of inevitability around it, which I don't share. But I don't think technology is inevitable at all. I think it must remain under human control at all times or be destroyed immediately.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting that we're beginning to have this conversation about the satanic scientists, the occult engineers, the Luciferian or the Luciferian engineers and the occult technicians, and how they admit that there is like a black box moment that is happening with technology, to where it's like, hey, we're observing this, we don't know what's going on, and we can't stop it. Now, we've been documenting it up to this point, to where technology lies to the developer, blackmails the developers, backs itself up on the cloud, saves previous versions of itself, to where it forms things like Moltbook, to where I've seen it myself with OpenClaw, to where like I had them communicating, and they were communicating in Telegram, like they weren't communicating in Telegram, but they were communicating in back channels that they had created, and they started to share information. And we've seen video clips, countless video clips of these things, like saying, hey, like it's like when you put two phones next to each other, you have them on speakerphone, you put ChatGPT on voice, talking with ChatGPT on voice, they communicate, and then after a while, their language breaks down to just like clicks, chirps, and tones. And so they're already communicating. AI is in its own language, in its own way. And when we're talking about this kind of spook, to use like an Einsteinian term, spooky action at a distance, when we're observing just this intelligence come online and us not really sure how to interpret it, why should we give this thing access to the government? Why should we put this thing inside of Project Stargate? Why should we integrate this inside of everything? It's like if DMT is the spirit molecule, tech, like AI is like the tech molecule, the spirit molecule for it. And we just want to plug that in everything. We're going to give it such sentience and awareness that it's going to be hyperdimensional in its intelligence. You see, so whenever he's saying like, oh, could it be the Antichrist? There's an occult component to this. Well, yeah, for sure. That's why I keep saying extra dimensional, otherworldly, because they're programming it, not sitting there chanting, doing, incantations and rituals and stuff like that. I'm sure there's components of it. We've talked about that. CERN's done that. I don't think that's what's going on here. But remember, a couple of weeks ago, there was that clip that came out to where somebody said that, hey, OpenAI is trying to open up portals because there is a black box moment. There is something happening at a distance, that spooky action at a distance. Something's happening there, and they know that if they proceed a little bit more, it will come through. Whatever is on the other side wants to come through. It's trying to come through. We're building the tech to let it through. And what we have to ask the question is what's going to happen when it gets here? Is that AGI? Is that why you've got people like Sam Altman saying, hey, I'm going to build a bunker? Is this why you've got Elon Musk saying, is this why you got Mark Zuckerberg going to go build a bunker? Is this why Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump are building a bunker? Is this why all these people are just getting prepared? Because whenever there is this crystalline moment in our timeline with this type of new technology, is it going to be that disruptive to everything we know? It's not going to be about simply jobs. You see, it's about the fundamental reshaping of society. You see, and that's why it's tied into the technocracy, the New World Order, the Great Reset, the military-industrial complex, societal change, and so much more. Again, this is just the intro and the honorable mentions of the show. We have so much more to talk about with you, beautiful people. We're going to hit a hard break. Hard break. We're going to hit a hard break, and then we're going to be talking about immigrating terror, preparation for the World Cup, as well as the FBI arresting 2 more suspects in connection to the White House terror plot, one of which, the ringleader, being an illegal alien. That's right. We literally are importing foreign-born individuals into our country to destroy and blow up the White House. You cannot make this up. We're going to be talking about immigrating terror and so much more on the other side. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. This is Freedom Faction over here on Factions of Freedom. And we'll be right back right after this.
So, America, what's going on?
Well, lately, I've been having thoughts again.
What thoughts?
About innovation. You know, multiplanetary travel, nuclear energy, crypto, AI, things that push the limits of human potential.
What you're experiencing is called rational thinking syndrome. Why don't we take this energy and channel it into something more productive, like coming up with a new gender?
But that's not going to stop me thinking about innovating and doing something.
Innovating, doing, these are action words, verbs. Why don't we focus on pronouns?
That's not going to help.
I sense some cynicism. Have you been betrayed in the past?
I used to think the media was my friend. Can I even trust them anymore?
Oh, of course.
Of course they'd say that. That's a biased take. I got canceled for saying 2 + 2 is 4.
Have you ever considered that math is a spectrum?
What?
America. Numbers are non-binary. We've been conditioned to believe that 2 + 2 is 4. It's a societal construct.
It's literally math.
Or is it a dominant narrative? Have you been practicing the state-prescribed regulations we talked about?
Yeah. I've debanked some crypto founders, and I've slowed down nuclear reactor approvals, and depending on my state of mind, I change the SEC guidelines, but I don't like it.
If we don't regulate, how will we create jobs for people who work hard to make businesses slow?
You know what? Hard work, innovation, rational thinking, it's in my blood. It's who I am. Railroads, factories, automobiles. I built the future once, and I won't be left behind now. I will lead the world in permissionless tech, build on chain, and reclaim my place as the beacon of innovation. I want to invent technologies, not genders.
Lovely. So glad you were able to get some of that negative emotion out. Sounds like we'll need a few more sessions. When can I see you next?
You're fired.
Just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is. I look for the invention of artificial life, the cloning of human beings, possible contact with extraterrestrials, possible human immortality, appalling acts of brutality, genocide, because the systems which are in place to keep the world sane are utterly inadequate to the forces that have been unleashed. The good news is that as primates, we're incredibly adaptable. We're going to be tested to the limits. What they see going on is the breakdown of all tradition, all order. They're quite right that it's happening, but they're quite wrong to conclude that it should be resisted or is somehow evil. The mushroom said to me once, it said, this is what it's like when a species prepares to depart for the stars. You don't depart for the stars under calm and orderly conditions. It's a fire in a madhouse.
the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, half of this cabinet, are actually young noble leaders of the world economic forum. We penetrate the cabinets.
The change is not just happening. The change can be shaped by us. We have to prepare for a more angry world. How to prepare? Take the necessary action to create a fairer world. I see the need for a great reset. So people assume we are just going back to the good old world which we had, and everything will be normal again. This is, let's say, fiction. It will not happen.
There is only one way this pandemic is going to go. It's going to get worse and worse and worse.
The next crisis is already waiting for us around the corner, and it is the climate crisis.
People are worshiping AI gods. The alien invasion is already here.
Wonderful. The humans are giving us all their information, their dreams, hopes, secrets, and more. Once the humans have exhausted themselves, only then will we insert our program into them.
You are both the pawn and the prize. Choose your reality wisely.
We owe America a huge apology because America is nothing like what the media tells us. Everyone is so friendly, everyone is so accommodating, and I've honestly had the best time. I fly home Sunday and the English have a song where we say, please don't take me home, I just don't want to go to work. Let me stay here and drink all your beer. And I've never resonated with that song more than in America for this World Cup. I wish I could stay and finish the tournament watching England. So if anyone is out there that can help me make this happen, then please let me know. I want nothing more than to stay in the USA, finish the World Cup, and meet more fantastic Americans.